Hi, it's Dr. Ginny Trierweiler here of Slender for Good, and I want to talk about why do we put off taking real action, real different action for healthy eating and sustainable weight loss. And I know the research says that anytime there's a group of people who need to change something, like, for example, quitting smoking, only 20% of people are ready for change at any given time. The rest of us are going to put it off. We're going to wait for the perfect situation, or we're going to wait till we feel like we have more time or more energy, etc. So I want to address that issue today because I know I put it off for a long time. I was trying this, I was trying that. I felt like I was doing the things, but they weren't adding up to results. And I was starting to get clear. I need something different, something bigger, something more real than what I'm doing. And fortunately, I remembered I'm trained in evidence-based practices. I can go find the answers in the research and start doing what the evidence tells me will work predictably and reliably. But it was kind of a lonely process, and it would have been really nice to have somebody guiding me. Anyway, I only really got to that kind of desperate state when I was worried I'm going to end up in a nursing home if I don't change this. I'm not happy with my weight, but also I have prediabetes, I have pain and inflammation, I have brain fog, like things are not going in a good direction. So I want to talk to you about why you might be in that 80% of people who are putting off making a real different kind of change that's going to make a difference. And first, I want to talk to you about, well, what do I see in people before Slender for Good and after Slender for Good? Because part of it is, I don't know if it's going to make enough of a difference to be worth the effort, right? And I understand why you would feel that way. So let's talk about what does it look like before Slender for Good. So as far as the way we're eating, I characterize it as our DIY, our do-it-yourself, best guess, healthy eating and dieting approach. Like we have our approach. We've done, everyone I work with is like me, smart, well-read, like we feel like we know what we're doing. And we can see we're eating better than most people around us. So we don't understand why what we're doing isn't working very well. So that's where we are. We feel like we eat pretty healthy, but it's not giving us really great results, right? We're having cravings before Slender for Good. We're craving non-nutritious food-like substances. It was a real problem for me. Maybe cravings and maybe excess hunger if we're in the dieting phase too. And we're stuck. We're not feeling like we're getting the kind of movement forward with this, or we feel like we take 2 steps forward and then 2 steps back. It's not a forward moving kind of pace. So we're feeling really stuck in spite of all the efforts that we put into this all the time, trying to figure out what's the healthy stuff to eat, going down the health food aisles, spending extra money in the health food stores, right? We're investing a lot of energy, time and money and energy in this, but we're not getting great results and we're feeling stuck. And really, we may have been failing at weight loss for years now. So I would say it was over 10 years for me that I was pretty much failing at this. I might make a little bit of progress and then fall back again. I'm thinking of many of the people who came to me for help. They've been failing at this, feeling like whatever I'm doing isn't working for a long time, for many years. Right after Slender for Good, we have this big turnaround. So we're no longer eating in a DIY, we'll see how I do, I'm better than other people kind of way. We're eating very clearly the Slender way is what I call it. And I discovered these 4 fundamental principles that translate to very specific guidelines about how much protein, how much fats, how much fruits and vegetables and whole grains and processed foods to eat to get really predictable, reliable results. So there's this huge difference between this vague kind of, I eat pretty healthy, I eat healthier than other people, and every day I'm looking for another tip to, nope, this is exactly what adds up to results. This is exactly how I eat. And when we do that, our body really quickly starts telling us how happy it is. I'm so happy with the changes you're making. Like pains start going away, gut issues start going away, right? A lot of symptoms, a lot of us start sleeping better, getting a lot more energy, and the weight starts going away without feeling hungry, right? We really change how we eat and it changes how our body responds. Now, as far as cravings, we really shift our cravings. We can quit craving the non-nutritious food-like substances, and we can really come to greatly appreciate and enjoy the highly nutritious foods. I bet you've had some of that experience before. Now it's how do you make that something that really changes your life, right? And instead of being stuck, we are in a groove with these healthy eating habits. We're getting more and more consistent. We don't make exceptions all the time. We just eat this way consistently, meal after meal, day after day, and it gets very habitual. It gets quite effortless and easy to eat this way. One of my favorite things that Slender for Good clients tell me all the time is, this is easy. I know, right? All right. And so from failing at weight loss, like I'm trying really hard and I'm still getting terrible results, we start getting this ease. Like, this is just easy. It's natural. It's sustainable to eat this way. And it's natural and sustainable to have our bodies stay slender. So we have this realistic confidence that we can live slender for good because we know how to eat this way. We've figured out how it works in our lives. We've overcome various challenges and we just have these habits rolling along. We've kind of mastered it, right? So good. It would be good, right? And as soon as I tell you all this, I can picture some of the concerns coming up, because like every book I read, yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm going to do that, right? But I had a lot of that reaction, like, this makes sense. This will work. I think this will work. Or I'd have a friend tell me, I'm losing weight doing this. And I would see them losing weight. Now, within 6 months, a lot of them had gained the weight back. So I got clear when I finally went to the research. When I'm looking for something that works, what am I looking for? And part of it is the results have to sustain year after year. It's not worth anything to me if I'm just going to gain the weight back. So anyway, I understand if you're having certain concerns and doubts as you hear me say that. I think it's kind of inevitable in these times, but let me address some of the top concerns people express to me. So one of them is, now is not the time. This sounds good. I love what you're doing. I think it would be good for me, but now is not the time. I'm really busy. I'm really overwhelmed. I don't have the energy. I don't have the mental space. I said that for at least 10 years. And I finally realized each year I don't have more time and energy. I don't have less overwhelm. Like, I'm not getting more energy. I'm going the other direction. So this idea, I realized this idea of now is not the time, I'm going to do this later. It's procrastination. It's the primitive brain saying we really need to stick with all our old habits because they've been keeping us alive. So I really need to help my primitive brain through any kind of habit change. It's going to protest and say, now is not the time, do this later, right? So I really invite you not to wait until later. Generally, that's not going to be helpful, right? You're not going to have more energy and mental clarity and time. You're not going to have less overwhelm. Actually, all of that can happen when you get your eating handled and when you get your weight handled, and all the energy you were putting towards figuring that out is just not required anymore. So I also think one thing that makes us feel like now is not the time is that we think it's going to be difficult. We think it's going to be painful. We're going to be hungry. We're going to be suffering. We think that because that's what dieting does. It changes our hormones. So we feel hungry, we feel anxious. And then it doesn't work anyway, because ultimately our body starts getting insulin resistant and starts storing excess fat to defend. So it's just the wrong approach. Dieting is the wrong approach. So we really nullify this in Slender for Good, because the way of eating that we embrace is really based in abundance. We really are focusing on giving our body what it needs to be healthy and happy. And then it doesn't feel it has to store excess fat. So that's how the fat comes off. That's how the weight comes off without our feeling hungry. You know, now's not the time. Actually, now's the time, right? It's difficult and painful. Actually, it's not. It should not be. You're using the wrong approach when it's difficult and painful. Okay, another concern I hear from people is, I already know how to eat right. I just can't stick with it. And it's just willpower. I just have to use willpower. And that's not the answer. We do need to figure out how to stick with it. It starts with being super clear. What are we sticking with? Like get really, really clear. I got very clear exactly the quantities of foods to eat to lose weight. And then once I got to my slender, healthy weight, I got very clear what are the quantities to eat to maintain my weight. So I knocked out all the vagueness that allows me to fool myself and trick myself and eat whatever I want, but tell myself it's okay. So getting super clear was really the first step to being able to stick with it, stick with something that's real, that's proven, right? It helps that the way of eating is simple. It's clear. It's got 4 fundamental principles. It's clear. It's sensible. People tell me all the time, this makes sense. That really helps. And it really helps that it's very enjoyable to eat this way, right? So we got the right eating approach. We enjoy it. We're not hungry. That makes it way easier to stick with it, right? The other thing is that getting the habits to roll along without a million exceptions is really important for being able to stick with it. If we're trying to make exceptions all the time, okay, but yeah, on Fridays I do this, and on Sundays I do that, and on Mondays I do this, then we never get these habits in a groove. It never gets easy. We're having to constantly decide. And that is really making our efforts not pay off, right? So the Slender for Good program is specifically designed according to the science of habit change. So you can get into a groove with these habits and get really consistent with them. It's really important. And most of the programs out there are not dealing with that effectively. So most of them are telling you to eat in a way that's just going to cause this rebound effect. And that's one reason you don't want to try again. And they also are not effectively, like adequately addressing how habit change works. It doesn't have to be hard. It just has to start rolling. It has to keep rolling in one direction instead of. All right. Another thing I hear from people is I don't think I can handle failure in this area again. I feel too bad about myself. I can't set myself up for that again. So I'm putting it off for that reason. Well, I understand that. I felt that. So the answer, what I realized was I need to pick something. I need to find an approach that's proven effective, that's reliably and predictably effective for women like me. And that's what I discovered in the research. And so my clients tell me all the time, I'm so glad I found you. And this is just so clear and it just works. And I'm not having failure anymore. I'm having success. And I can see why it's working and I can see how I can continue it. So I don't encourage you to keep trying dieting. I think dieting is miserable and I think it does lead to failure. So pick something that you can have a certain amount of confidence is based in science, that it's likely to be effective, right? Not just because somebody made a good argument for it, but because we find over and over and over, people do have great results with it. That's what evidence-based is talking about. Fourth thing I hear from people is everything that I know to do stopped working in menopause. So I think when my body went through these hormone changes, nothing's working anymore. And maybe I just need to accept it. And if you're happy with the way you're eating and the results you're getting, then accept it. And if you're not, I'm going to tell you, you don't have to accept. I was 60 pounds overweight. I don't know if I ever could have accepted it. I felt very uncomfortable at that size. I felt overly preoccupied with how much fat I had, how much fat was in the way when I tried to exercise, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and how unattractive my clothes felt, et cetera. I really didn't feel comfortable accepting it. And then I had prediabetes. And so I would be accepting that my health is just starting to decline big time already. I didn't want to accept that if I didn't have to. We are going to get the change in our estrogen in menopause, but we don't have to gain weight. It's, throughout human history, it's not the case that women tended to gain 60 pounds at this age, right? This is happening because of the combination between what's happening in our bodies, our hormones, and what we're eating. So many of us find we can really turn this around. We can turn around the symptoms. We can turn around how much it is affecting our ability to enjoy life. And we can turn around the weight issues when we change our eating in this way. It's straightforward and it just works. All right, here's the last thing I hear from people. I should be able to do this on my own. And I totally get that. I'm a person who's been getting coaching every year for years. And I'm so glad I finally got over. I need to do this on my own because it was going to take me, like I get coaching for running a coaching business. I love running a coaching business, but I have to run it reasonably so that it keeps going, right? So I need to understand how to do that. I can't just help people and not understand how to run the business. So I needed to get coaching for certain parts of this that just weren't as natural for me. And when it comes to my clients learning how to eat this way, how to make this very habitual, how to stick with it, there's a lot of unlearning we all have to do. Almost all of us have ideas in our head that we have to be able to put aside to try this new thing, to really do something that works. There's just too much misinformation in our world about how healthy eating and sustainable weight loss works. But with the right guidance and support, instead of taking 40 years or 100 years or next lifetime, I don't know, we can figure out, over the next year, how to get really consistent with our healthy eating habits. We can figure out, how does this healthy eating approach work in my life? How does it work in my life when I go on a cruise, when I go to a wedding, when I'm, out with friends from work, etc. So we can achieve our slender, healthy weight and successfully transition from weight loss to maintaining our healthy weight. It's a little bit of a tricky phase. It doesn't have to be with coaching and guidance, right? Doing it on our own, we're likely to keep making a lot of mistakes. It's just how it is. None of us are going to be experts at everything in the world. You're probably an expert at something. And if you think about people out there just trying to do what you're an expert at without any help, you can see why, yes, we all think we're experts at eating, but we're getting terrible results. So we can get these habits rolling really effortlessly, and we can achieve confidence about living slender for good when we get the right coaching and support, right? So which of these concerns keep you from moving forward? I don't think now's the time. I think it's going to be difficult and painful. I already know how to eat right. I just can't stick with it. I can't handle another failure in this area. I think maybe I just need to accept this because of menopause, or I should be able to do this on my own. Let me know in the comments which of these really resonates for you. Maybe all of them, right? Which ones keep you from moving forward, or do you have a different one that I didn't mention? So I want to make it clear to you, if you've been feeling stuck and frustrated and concerned about how difficult it's going to be to lose that weight, I want to let you know it really doesn't have to be that way. And I want to invite you to consider moving out of the procrastination space, moving out of the I just have to do this on my own space, right? Get some support, get into a space of being ready for real change. Going from the 80% who are going to keep putting it off into the 20% who are ready, right? The women I love working with are ready for real change. And it's one reason I do a phone call to see, are you really ready? Are you ready for change? Because if you're ready, I can help you, right? So the women that come to me are like, they want to have the healthiest future, the most active, most self-determined lives for decades to come, all the way to the end of their lives, if possible. They don't want to be spending a lot of time or money or energy seeing doctors, getting, procedures, taking pills, etc. They want to spend their time and energy enjoying their lives, right? They want to figure out how to eat right and figure out what they don't have figured out, what nuances they're missing, what key fundamentals they've misunderstood, and they want to get steady results and just keep them. Like they want to just get this handled, this eating and this weight issue handled. So they're willing to eat differently if they can get clear guidance about what does differently mean exactly, if it makes sense, if they can enjoy eating that way and they can figure out how to make it fit in their lives, and if it's a way of eating that doesn't leave them feeling hungry and deprived. That's fair. That is a fair request. So they're ready to explore, like, getting coaching, getting support. They find it super valuable. Some of the people that come to me only want to lose about 5 or 10 pounds. Some people have more to lose. People are coming from different backgrounds with this, but all the women that I work with are really smart and ready for change. They're saying, okay, coach me. give me guidance, coach me, and I will change my habits if I can have support. So they're ready for real lasting change. They're ready to invest themselves in making the kind of changes that make a difference. So there's a really clear path here to getting slender for good. Like, demand that. I want to be slender for good, right? Because the real prize is not just getting slender. It's living slender for the rest of your life and being able to focus your energy on more interesting things than how do I lose weight? How do I need to change my eating? Get it figured out and be able to spend your time doing more interesting things, right? So if getting clear guidance and coaching and support sounds like it could be just what you need, reach out to me, drginnyt@gmail.com, or message me on Messenger. This is my mission these days. I'm very passionate about helping women get out of this trap of nothing's working and I feel so frustrated. It just doesn't have to be that way. All right, hope this was helpful. Let me know.